right, so let's take a look at your warm-up, you guys. So for your warm-up, you're asked to go ahead and convert from vertex form to standard form. So this is vertex form. And the reason why it's called vertex is, remember, your vertex is always going to be HK, okay? And this is a parabola. So you guys know your parabola looks like a U shape, and this is your vertex, okay? So in this form, your vertex is going to be -9, -14. But we want to convert it into standard form. So then what you will have to do is you will have to first go ahead and FOIL out that part right there. And the reason I'm giving you guys this question is because it's kind of like a review of it. So if I FOIL this out, you got to think about it. It's x plus 9 twice. First is going to give you x squared. Outer is going to be on the outside, so 9x. Inner, which is on the inside, is 9x. And then last, 9 times 9 is 81. You need to not forget that -14, okay? A lot of people do. Now combine your like terms. So you have x squared plus 18x. And then what's 81 minus 14? Oh my gosh, what is it? Hold on. Anyways, going back to this, 81 minus 14, that's gonna give you a 7. So 7, 67. And this is your answer right here. Okay. Now for number 2, you do exactly the same thing. You will have to FOIL that part. And once you do FOIL that part, it's going to give you an x squared plus 4x plus 4. But then don't forget your -6, because you will have to distribute that -6 into this first. So that's going to give you a -6x squared minus 24x minus 24. But then don't forget your -10. I know there's like a lot of forgetting, but that's okay. So let's combine it. -6x squared minus 24x minus 34. And that is your answer. Here we go. So give you guys a second if you need to copy that part down. So let's put things into terms of where we are. So this is going to be week 5. And so next week is going to be week 6. Your final is in week 20. And your warm-up log is going to be due in week 9. So after this week, you guys have exactly 3 more weeks left to do this. And take a look at your warm-up log. How many empty boxes do you have before week 5 Monday? You don't have to count it. I just want to make sure you guys have like an understanding of where you stand with it. All those boxes should be filled with the exception of Martin Luther King's birthday. And so if you're like, I don't think I have all my boxes filled out, I have a bunch of empty ones, then where you need to go is make sure you go to either the QR code I gave you guys on the white piece of paper. And if you need another one, I'll be more than happy to give it to you. Or you can go to MS Team and go to the very beginning of the post for me. So if you take a look at this here, first one is for the syllabus, the second one is for the YouTube channel. And so if you go ahead and click on the YouTube channel right here, then you have access to all 17 videos that we have recorded so far, starting from week 1 all the way from to week 4 Friday, which was literally last class. Okay, so any of the ones that you guys have, you can see. Like on Friday, if you just click on it, you have the warm-up right there. You don't need to watch the entire video, but you have the warm-up given to you. Okay, now if you're absent, then yes, watch the entire video, obviously. And so make sure you guys are able to do that. But there are 17 videos because I've seen you guys 17 times. All right, let's go ahead and move on to today's stuff. Okay, so this is going to be our breakdown every single week. This is week 5. You guys have your Math Excel assigned to you guys on Monday, in addition to your Math Excel quiz, which I'll give you guys on Wednesday. So to access your Math Excel, I'm just going to briefly share it with you guys. You're just going to go to a Google browser. So Washoe County School District, Math Excel. Go to Envision right here. Just click on the first one that pops up and then click on Sign In. And once you have sign in, I mean, they're going to ask you that. You just go to Algebra 2. So right there, there's 2 of them. You don't go to Envision Algebra 2. You go to Math Excel, which is the bottom one. And then once you're in here, you'll be able to see all the homework assignments that you guys have. So I'm going to go to my homework, or let's go to assignment manager. I'm going to go ahead and open up your week 4 assignment. So let's go ahead and go to edit. This one right here was for your homework. And I'm going to go ahead and change the date, because if you do turn it in now, it's going to be late, but you know, late is better than just not doing it, because there's a penalty for it, but a 10% penalty to a 40% penalty is better just not having anything at all. So let me go back over here and change that. So now you guys have access to all the homework assignments and quizzes for week 1, 2, 3, and 4. Every week, just keep in mind, you guys do have a Math Excel homework and a quiz. So then what I'm going to do is let's go to the unassigned. This week, we're going to be going over inverse variation reciprocal functions and also graphing rational functions and transformation. So I'm just going to go ahead and assign the inverse variation from last week. So we'll just go ahead and type in week 5, algebra 2, semester 2, inverse variations, and then go. So hit next. And there are 10 questions, you guys. And I'm going to have it make it due the Sunday, which is going to be on the 6th of February. So 2/6/2022. And you always have until 11 p.m. to do that. You guys have 3 different attempts. And it's assigned. So your homework is there. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and edit. I'm going to put homework on it as well, so that way you guys can see it easily. Homework. There we go. Save and assign. All right. So that takes care of that. How to raise your grade. Make sure you're attending class regularly. Do the warm-up, exit ticket, the guided notes, which is really important. And also another really important component is your Math Excel and your quiz, which is due every Sunday by 11 p.m. If it's late, there is a percentage deduction, but the sooner you turn it in, the less that deduction and penalty will be. Make sure you guys do the activity in class. And then of course, as always, you have after school tutoring. You can just come see me after school in this classroom. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. So today we're still not in skill 1 yet, because I'm still trying to build you guys up to that point. And so today we're going to go back to like 4th grade math and like algebra 2 math or algebra 1 math to help you guys get ready for rationals, because it's not an easy section. So we're going to be reviewing fractions today and also factoring. And if you look at your calendar that's on your packet, this is where we're going to be at January 31st. And that is our topic. But throughout this week, we're going to start graphing rationals, transformation of rationals. And then next week, we're going to start multiplying, dividing, and then adding, but then eventually solving, and that will end up our unit basically. All right, so for today, you guys are going to go reviewing factors or factoring and fraction. This is our day 1 of that. Today, I'm going to have you guys do a Kahoot on factoring. I have a quizzes as well if you have a little bit of time. And the materials you guys need today is an iPad or cell phone and a handout from me. So come on up, you guys, and grab the handout right here. Okay, you guys, so let's go ahead and take a look at fractions, okay? So you guys have 16 questions right here. I'm going to go over some of the harder ones with you guys. Just by looking at this, I think the one, let's see, maybe we'll try number 7. So yeah, let's try number 7 together first. Okay, so going back to 4th grade math, you need to find a common denominator when you're adding them. So far you have 5 and 20. What is your GCF? What is your, I shouldn't say greatest common factor. What is your CD? What is your common denominator between 5 and 20? It's probably 20, right? Like 5 times what gives you 20? And you're gonna multiply that number both top and bottom, okay? And so if you take a look at the progression of the next fill in the blank, you already got 20 here. So 4 times 3 is 12 plus 3 over 20. Now you do have common denominator, so you can combine the two fractions together. So 12 plus 3 is 15 over 20. And if you reduce that, you could divide it by 5, which will then give you a 3 over 4. And that is your final answer. And I'm doing this with you guys because like when we start adding letters in there, like X's, and you have to add fractions, it's going to be a little bit different. So it's important that you know how to add fractions now, or at least remember how to do it. So that way you know how to do this when we get there. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 10. For number 10, you have an 18 and a 3. I know that my common denominator is 18, so then 3 times 6 is going to give me an 18. So then 2 times 6 is going to give me a 12. Common denominator is 18 now, so 1 and 12 is going to give me a 13, and that's the best that you can do. You cannot reduce that. All right, so now that I've shown you guys how to do 2 of these, I want you guys just pick any 10, okay? And take the next 5 minutes and go ahead and work on it on your own. So now let's go ahead and move on to dividing fractions, okay? Because ultimately we're going to be dividing rationals as well. So I'm going to go over a few questions here, and then I'm going to have you guys pick a few on your own. Let's start off with this one right here. That will be probably the easiest one, okay? So looking at this right here, you're just going to put 4 out of 1. And what's going to happen here is I'm going to go ahead and just put times 3 over 8. Now, at this point, you can just multiply across, or if you want to make it a little bit easier for yourself, I know there's a 4 and an 8, and that can be reduced down to a 1 over 2. You can do it here, or you could do it at the end. And then in which case, you just multiply across. Like 1 times 3 is just going to be 3. 1 times 2 is just going to be 2, and that's your answer. Now, if you're like, I don't like this in a mixed fraction, you could rewrite it as a proper fraction, which is going to be 1 over 1 and 1/2. Either way works. Whichever one is easier for you. And then, of course, you're supposed to match them. And so my first answer here is going to be matching over to answer over here. So do I see a 1 and 1/2? I do. It matches this one right there. So I'm just going to put a little arrow right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over another one. I'm going to choose this one right here. So this is a division question, and it's also a mixed fraction. So you have to change it from an improper or proper fraction to an improper fraction. And remember, that's just going to be 5 times 4 plus 1. 5 times 4 is 20 plus 1 is a 21 over 4, okay? And then, of course, you have a divided by 4. 4 times 3 is 12 plus the 2 is a 14 over 3. So we're changing it into fractions. Now, the division is a little bit different than multiplication. You got to change this division to multiplication. And when you do that, so I'm going to change it to a multiplication. Remember back in 4th grade, you got to flip the second fraction. So you have a 3 on top and a 14 on the bottom. Now, as I'm looking at this, I'm like, is there anything that I can maybe reduce top and bottom? There's nothing for me to do with the 3 and the 4, but as I'm looking at the 21 and the 14, I know that 7 can go into 21 3 times, and 7 goes in the 4 2 times. And then once you simplify, you just multiply across. Okay, so 3 times 3 is a 9, 4 times 2 is an 8, and it could be 9 over 8, or you can reduce it to 1 and 1/8. into a proper fraction. So then which one does this one match to? Oh, it's right here. There we go, right there. Okay, so now that I've gone over 2 questions with you guys, let's go over one more. I feel like maybe we just need one more to go, okay? For the last one, let's go over this one right here, right there in blue. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put 3/4 like that, change that division sign to a multiplication. And remember, this is a 5/1, so you gotta flip it to become a 1/5. And then once you have that, you're gonna multiply across. 3 times 1 is a 3, 4 times 5 is a 20. And that is all that you can do. You don't need to change it because the top number is not bigger than the bottom number. And which one doesn't match? That one right there. So now that I've gone over 3 questions, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. You guys finish those 5 and then match them up. Now let's go ahead and go to the back of this. I want you guys to flip it over and we're gonna first kind of focus on this piece right over here in the bottom right corner. And I know you're like, that's kind of sideways, Callahan. I know it's sideways, I'm sorry. But I was trying to do this so I can save some space. But yeah, I know it's sideways, but it's still good. And we're just gonna go ahead and focus on these questions right here. Okay. Okay, so before we start adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing rationals, you need to know how to factor, obviously. This is an Algebra 1 skill or an 8th grade skill. We've done this in 8th grade as well. And I just messed this up. Okay, there we go. Okay, perfect. And so looking at this here, let's start off with number 2. Okay. So your ultimate goal is to factor this. So this is already unfoiled. You want to put it back into the 2 parentheses. And so you always start off with kind of like a T-table. Your last number always stays over here on the left side, and your middle number always goes in the right side. So last number, middle number on this T-table. So then what you do is if you have negative numbers in your problem, like there's a -11, you know you need to use negative numbers when you multiply it out. So you gotta ask yourself, what times what gives me a 10, but it has to have negative numbers? So I could do like a -1 and 10, +1, -10, -2 and 5, 2 and -5, right? Those are my options right there. Or I'm sorry, it has to be a positive. Whoops, totally screwed this up. Sorry. See, I forgot. It has to be a +10, but it has to include negative numbers. So you want negative numbers. So -1, -10, -2, -5. There you go. That's what I meant. Out of those 2 different possibilities, which one of those add up to a -11? Well, I don't know about you, but it's like this is the only one that works, right? That's the only one that add up to a negative number, which is the middle number. So then what is your answer? Your answer is just n and n -1 -10. That's it. That's how you factor. Do you kind of remember this back in like Algebra 1, 9th grade? If you're like, I don't remember crap from that year, that's okay too. All right, let's go and take a look at number 6. Okay. For number 6, you're going to create a chart again. Okay. Last number, middle number. Your last number is a 64. Your middle number is a 16. As you look at the signs in here, do you see everything is all positive? So what that means is that what times what has to be positive numbers. And there's a lot of options because you're going up to 64. So that could be a 1 and 64. And again, they're positive numbers. 2 and 32. You could do a, not 3, just kidding. 4 and 16. 8 and 8, And I think those are all the positive numbers that multiply to 64. But there's only one of them that will add up to 16. Like if I do 1 plus 64, that's 65. That's 34. That's 20. That's 16. So which one is the winning combination here? It's the very last one. And so my answer is going to be B and B right there in the front, and then plus 8 at the second one. Do you guys kind of remember this back in Algebra 1? I hope you guys kind of do at least. Okay, so let's try another one. Let's try number 7. Okay, so we're going to create a little table for number 7, and I'm going to put it right over here. So this is number 7. The last number of number 7 is negative 24. The middle number of 27 or number 7 is 2. And there are negative numbers, so I want to include negative numbers. So what times what, and they have to be negative numbers, give me a negative 24. So I could do a negative 1 and 24, positive 1 and negative 24, negative 2 and 12, positive 2 and negative 12, negative 3 and 6, positive 3 and negative 6, negative 4 and 8, positive 4 and negative 8. And I think that's everything. But there's only one that will add up to a positive 2. And which one is that going to be? And I don't like this because I don't see it. Oh, you know why? I don't see it because I didn't include all the numbers. I could do a negative 6 and a 4 and a positive 6 and a negative 4. See, that's why it didn't happen. I was like, shoot, don't tell me this one's prime because then that wouldn't work. So the only one that works with a positive 2 is a 6 and a negative 4 because that will give you a positive 2. So then your answer for number 7 is just going to be M, the first number, and then plus 6 minus 4. And that's how you will factor it. Okay, so now I'm gonna give you guys about 4 minutes. You guys can pick any of the other questions and give those ones a try because we're already gone over 3 of them and I want you guys to go ahead and try the other ones. So for the next one, we talked about special factoring back in 9th grade math. And I know you're like, that was so long ago, and I totally agree. So for this one, I'll have you guys focus on this area right over here. All right, so with special factoring, this is what you need to write down. Okay, with special factoring, it is going to be a squared minus b squared, something like that, which is equal to a plus b times a minus b. Okay, and A and B, they're going to be perfect squares. And if you remember perfect squares are like 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144. And I think that's as far as I want to go. And you're like, why are these called perfect squares? Because square root of 4 is a 2. Square root of 9 is a 3. Square root of 16 is a 4. And then if you keep on going, I think you can kind of see like the trend, right? Like square root of 144 is 12. Okay? Those are perfect squares. And if you take a look at the answers right here, or the not answers, but the questions, do you guys notice how this is a 16 and a 9? That's a perfect square. 4 and 25, that's a perfect square. 25, perfect square. 9 and 1, perfect square. I know you're like, well, you didn't talk about 1. I didn't include 1, but yeah, 1 square root of 1 is still 1. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at, let's do number 2. Okay. So for number 2, you have perfect square, first and last number. And this is super easy, you guys. You're just going to do something like that. Square root of 4 is a 2m. So I'm going to put 2m. It's going to use this formula. So you're going to put a plus and a minus. And then square root of 25 is just 5. And that's it. That's all you do. Let's try number 5. For number 5, it's still a perfect square. So what's the square root of 9? 3x, 3x. So you just put it like that. You do a plus and a minus. Square root of 1, it's just going to be 1. And that's it. That's your answer. But then you might have some questions that look like 3 and 4, okay? And in which case, that will be a little bit more difficult, but not super duper difficult. Let's do number 3. I think number 3 will be a good one to do. Okay, so number 3, I'm going to set this up. Okay, so there's my parenthesis. I know that this is a 16, so it's going to be a 4b and a 4b. But what's different about this one, the other two, is that you have a number in the middle, okay? So your last number, 25, you can't put a plus and a minus. It doesn't work that way. So square root of 25 is a 5. So I'm going to put 5 and 5 here. But then I also see that this is a minus 40. So what that means is that your 5 has to be a minus 5 and a minus 5. And if you're like, really? Why is that? Because if you FOIL this, your outer is going to give you a negative 20b. Inside is going to give you a negative 20b. And when you combine them together, it's a negative 40. And that's why you have to be careful with the signs. Okay, so it's not just plus and minus. Now that I've gone over these 3, I'm going to have you guys practice with the other 4. So I'm going to give you guys like another 3 more minutes, practice with that, and then we'll move on, okay? We're going to continue on. We're going to move over here. And this has literally been like 4 different lessons in one day with you guys because it's a review. Now, take a look at these questions. Do you guys notice that there's no perfect square in there? Like it's not 4, 9, 16, 25. So these ones are the really hard ones. And these are the ones you went over back in like algebra 1. So let's go over, I don't know. Let's just do 5. Let's just start off with 5. I don't think any of them are really that easy. So let's just start off with 5. That's fine. So again, you have a number in front of the n squared, okay? Because like the one that we did before, like these ones right here, you see how they're all m squared, n squared, x squared. There's no number in the front. You know what I mean? Then we went over into special ones where it's perfect squares. Now these ones are not special at all. They're just really difficult ones. But there's a number here. So you're going to take that first number and you're going to multiply by the last number. That's what you do. And then that's what you put down. So 3 times 20 is going to give me a 60. So I put that right there on my chart. And then you still use your middle number, which is a negative 16. And then you're going to ask yourself, okay, so I have negative numbers, so I'm going to have to use negative numbers. So what times what that's negative is going to give me a positive 60. And that sucks because there's so many of them. Negative 1, negative 60, negative 2, negative 30, negative 3, negative 20, negative 4, and negative, let's see, 15, I think. Yes, okay. Negative 5 and negative 12. And I think that's it. I think. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm okay. Maybe. Am I not doing this right? No, 5 and 12 is worse. 4 times 15. Yeah. By 6. Oh, and then of course, negative 6 and negative 10. Duh, forgot that one. I'm like the easiest one. Which one of those add up to a negative 16? It's that one, right? That one add up to a negative 16. So you're like, oh, okay. Well, in that case, my answer is in minus 6 and minus 10. No, that's not your answer. This is your temporary answer. You're going to do one extra step. Because you multiply it by the 3, you now have to balance it by dividing by the 3. You're like, that's my answer. No, that's not your answer. Your answer is going to be, okay, what's negative 6 divided by 3? 2, right? That divides in perfectly. Does 3 go into 10 perfectly? Heck no. So what do? You take this 3, you put it in front of the n. So it's 3n minus 10. And that is your answer. Right there in green. So I know during the pandemic, the first year, some of you guys might have not had one classes, and in which case, if you had a not so great teacher in math, they might have skipped this, which I'm like, that's a horrible idea, because now as juniors, you're gonna have to relearn how to do this. Okay, so to help you guys out with that, I would suggest just practice with it. And also, you have the answers on the very bottom right there. So tonight, maybe just pick a few, practice with it, because unfortunately in this class, this is not the level that you're learning. We're gonna have to use this to divide and multiply fractions, which is what we're getting into. And that's why I'm taking all this time to prep you guys for it. Okay, so anyways, that's all I have for you guys today.